something pretty. So what I haven't gotten to yet is actually putting in textures and things where you can actually, this is pretty simple, kind of see-through texture I put on there where you can color it. But adding bump maps, adding any kind of specularity, anything else you can imagine in 3D is not hard for me to add in. I've already got the core functionality kind of in place. So that's 3D tube painting. Last thing, a couple more like smaller things I want to show you. This is ribbon painting. So I can, write my name, for example. And I'm left-handed, so this is really hard to do. All right. Be cursive. And again, these are 3D objects. They're a little bit cheaper because they're actually 2D. But it's a 3D object that interacts physically as well. And just like the other 3D objects, I can make copies of it, I can recolor it, I can do whatever you want. So that's ribbon painting, that's tube painting. And then more recently I started getting into this idea of mixing up the paintballs with some of the 3D stuff I was doing. So just briefly I'll show you a demo of that. So I'm going to make something that I call a plate. That's my plate. And I'm going to make something I call a beehive. A beehive is just a container but it's closed. And I'm going to make a bowl, which is basically just like a beehive but it's open. And again, if I wanted to recolor all these things, I could. So I'm going to make a couple copies of that. Copies of that. There we go. And we'll recolor a couple of these things. We have a little variety out there. And then I'm going to make some paintballs. I'm going to fill up a lot of these containers with paintballs. So I can put some paintballs in here, put some paintballs in here, here, and here.
Yes.
And then if I wanted to be like Master Chef, grab a couple of these and kind of over here and mix them up. With 3D, you get the shield it, so if I want to like pick them up again, they just go straight through the plate. Going back in, pick them up again, going back in, etc. I can pick up any individual paintball, and again, it's got paint inside, so if I throw it, it's going to make a paint spot, right? And so you can imagine like a snowball fight or a paintball fight, some kind of like Splatoon. They're actually picking up and playing these things, throwing them around, having a paint war. So there's a lot of applications that are potential with this, and I'm really just kind of cracking the surface of what's possible. We're having just more fun than I can tell you. I spend more time than I probably should. My kids will tell you in this space, just playing. Long term, I've got a lot of plans to expand this beyond where we're looking at. So we're going to include things like multiplayer. We're going to include things like all the new textures and other things I was talking about. Serialization is a big deal. Having space like this is great. Even better if you can share. You show like not just screenshots, but hey, have a level that somebody else can download and check out. And Tiltbrowser does a great job of this, where you can actually download other people's levels, check it out, and that's just the level of how they built it. You can see like stroke by stroke how they built it out. And that's the kind of level of serialization I want to get to. I'm really at the point now where I've kind of got more work than I have time to do. So I'm looking for funding. I'm meeting with some VCs this week. And I'm really just looking for a way to kind of get a few more people on the team to help build this out. I know what needs to be done, I just don't have the time. Yeah, so that's RenAR, and this is paint. This is called VRPaint. You can look it up on either my site, RenAR.com, or there's lots of YouTube videos. I usually post a lot of my projects up on VRVR. If you've been on that site, it's WVARVR.com. It's the premier third-party VR site for content. Questions?
So I spend a lot of my time doing 2D and 3D animation. So do you have any sort of ideas, machinations about creating sort of like some sort of method of animation, using this more than just an interactive tool, but as a creative storytelling tool?
So on the storytelling side, yeah, it's not that different than like what we've been doing in games for a long time. It's a lot of the same 3D mediums with skeletons and skeletal meshes and stuff. What I have here is an IK grid, which is kind of most animation stuff is kind of away from IK unless you're doing like mass scale, lots of creatures and things. It's better to actually do real capture or to do hand animation. Like animators that are really good, they just know how to move every joint, which is good. Like Pixar's not doing low cap, they're doing all by hand because they know they can't. So yeah, I think the methodology is very similar to games. I don't think it changes much in that respect. What does change is where you're looking. And so storytelling in VR, the biggest challenge with VR and this freedom of movement is storytelling's hard. The brain's not there anymore, right? Yeah. Like a movie director, cinematographer's like that. The frame, I actually have a proportion of everything I want, the lighting and everything. Well, now it's some person looking over here. So those are all questions to be answered that I think are still out there. So Gilbert's doing stuff. They have app studios they did this thing called Invasion on Oculus, which is just amazing. My daughter's just like going crazy over it. But there's still so many questions to be answered in terms of how to do good storytelling. I think we are at the earliest stage of trying to figure out that.
So what framework are you using?
Still Unity. So however long ago, whatever. About 8 years ago, I started using Unity as a teacher because we were using a program. It's a free game engine, or like a free game engine. We had like nothing. We had like Unreal, like a bought the game or something. And there was a bunch of crap, honestly, on the internet, like free game engines to download. Then Unity came out, so I got involved with it a long time ago. And nobody in our program, I wasn't a programmer. I came from like an art production background in the game industry. But nobody in our game program, the arts college, could program. So I said, okay, I'll figure it out. So I just started becoming a programmer. But yeah, it's all Unity. Plugins for whatever, Vive. I've done like Leap Motion, plugins for Motion. I've done AR stuff with Euphoria, Mateo, and other things in the past. But almost all plugins. Like, you don't have a plugin for Unity.
So, like, it seems like really cool for like a lot of like, or it has a lot of potential for like emergent type stuff, like seeing what people kind of come up with these tools. I'm wondering like how should you have started testing or have any plans for testing with other people, I guess?
Yeah, I mean the multiplayer stuff is really hard for me. There's only like one set, right? And so I can like get a multiplayer set together, I can like send it to people and like maybe they'll play it with me. But that's actually really hard. So I put together multiplayer builds and I can do it like on the same screen. It's much harder for me to kind of get it out there and get other people to try it. I get a lot of feedback through these online download sites. They'll like download it and send me feedback, and I've gotten a lot through that. It's been really helpful. I went on Steam for a little while, with not this, but a different application, and I got just nothing but like trolls that were like just tearing me apart. That this is a tech demo, it's not a game. Why is it up on Steam? And so I just like pulled it down. I said, forget it, it's not worth it. And I was getting some good feedback, but there were just too many people who were like, it's not, it's not a zombie shooter, which is like, check the menu. I just choose not that. Anyway, so yeah, feedback and testing is critical, and now I'm kind of at that point where I really think you can kind of get it out of my basement and into the world and get people started like that. And I come from the game industry, so I'm all about criticism. But yeah. Well, thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Come by. Happy to throw a headset on and give you a round. Cool.
For final speaker, we're actually going to have one of our DCVR organizers, Jason Gans, talking about his VR manifesto, which is essentially an exploration of how we can do good things in VR and good things that are less good. So that's a very simplified version of it, and he will explain a lot.
Hey everyone, how's it going? As a little history of this, this came out of a blog post, which I was asked to go present up in New York, and then we were in the speaker today, so here I am. So everyone's talking about VR, obviously, these days. Not just the people here, but we see it on CNN, we see it on Fox News, and we see all these articles about VR, these think pieces. VR is going to be the next wave of computing. Or VR is going to go the way of 3D TV. And there's all these people back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And no one can really agree on anything. Except for one thing, which is that the first time that someone puts on a VR headset, dramatic pause while my slides go up, F5. F4, there it is. You get a huge reaction. So, I mean, that's one of the things that we've noticed at the VR Meetups. And as we've been doing these for 2 years, every time we have people come in and they try out virtual reality, we get these reactions where it's, I mean, how many of you haven't tried VR yet? Pretty much everyone's done it. Awesome. So you'll remember what the first time, it was like the first time that you went into that virtual world. And the thing that has struck me the most and stuck with me the most since we've been doing this to so many people is everyone comes out and they're just bubbling with ideas about what this means. What it means for the future of education, what it means for the future of entertainment, all sorts of things. And everyone, the funniest thing is everyone comes out and they have their own idea of what virtual reality is and what virtual reality means and where it's going to go. And when I think back to all these reactions, there's two of them in particular that stick out to me as kind of like epitomizing the different schools of thought. So this is the future of art. Those were the first words of my friend Ryan after he tried to buy and he tried to tell Ryan for the first time. And it was really cool to hear that, not just because it was a positive reaction to VR, but because Ryan he's not an Uber nerd like me. He's one of those DC policy wonks that we see all of the time. And he had normally been the first one to push back at me. Every single time I went and I started talking about the grand vision and the grand future of VR. But when he tried Tilt Brush, he couldn't argue anymore because he saw. And he was like, oh my God, I can't wait to see concerts in this. I can't wait to see museums in this. I can't wait to see all of that. And that was really cool. And we're really happy to see that. But not everyone sees it like that. And so, let me tell you about my friend Kate. This is the face of the devil. Those were the first words that Kate said after she tried to buy. And so, of course, now it's like, oh no, there's nothing wrong with VR. But Kate's not a Luddite. She's actually a gamer. And she was addicted to World of Warcraft for years. And she lost so much time sucked up in the screen. And so, after she tried that, she turned to me, and the next thing that she said was, she said, this is going to swallow people up and eat them whole. And I mean, I kind of think she's right. We all know the power of this, and as much as we all want it to only be used for the good, we know, I almost lost my life to Overwatch, and once VR gets added to the video game equation, lost my life hasn't got addicted to it. Once VR gets added to the equation, it's going to be incredibly hard for us sometimes to tear ourselves away from the virtual world and stay here. So why are we talking about this now, especially when VR is so early in its actual market presence? Because a lot of people would say, VR is just getting off the ground. We don't need to worry about this. We need to just worry about getting it out there, making sure that the industry succeeds. And I don't think that's true, because we all know that VR is an incredibly powerful technology, and once it's widespread and once it's mainstream, it's going to be really hard to change the ways that we use it. Which is why it's important for us here at DCVR, the entrepreneurs, the executives, the creators, to start thinking about these issues and thinking about how we can use our talents, our creation, whatever we bring to the community, and make it so that it brings the VR that we want. And next question is, why do I think I have all the answers? And I don't. I don't even have any of the questions, really. But what I do know is that there's a series of choices that we're each going to have to make every time that we create a virtual reality experience. Do we want to generate empathy or fear? Do we want to use VR to educate or exploit? And do we want to create experiences that entertain or that enslave? So let's take a look at each of those and what they mean. Empathy versus fear. Empathy versus fear. So VR is one of the most incredible tools that humanity has ever created to generate empathy, because it's the first technology that actually allows you to walk a mile in someone else's shoes. It's why VR filmmaker Chris Milk said that virtual reality is the ultimate empathy machine, because virtual reality can induce that state of presence and make us feel like we're there with someone else. And that's what made his virtual reality film Clouds Over Cedra so powerful, which was a virtual reality experience of a Syrian refugee camp following a 13-year-old girl around. And the thing that struck me the first time I saw that was just how real it felt, and how it's just like, you know that it's people over there, and you know when you look at the news that this is happening to real people, but that's not the same thing as looking at them, staring into their eyes and seeing their day-to-day life. And this is why virtual reality is going to be such a fantastic tool for letting us connect with others. But all of the things that make it powerful as a way to connect with others, of course there's a flip side. It can be used to create fear and hatred of others. We already saw a couple months ago, someone released a 9/11 simulator for VR. And there was a lot of controversy in the community about it. And I kind of went through like a series of feelings. Because obviously, first thing you feel is, that's tacky and wrong, and why would you do that? And then the second one is, this was a real thing that happened. Should we not use VR as a technology to explore this and see if we can understand it a little better? And the third was, oh my God, I don't want people to watch this right before they go and vote. Because it was scary, and this kind of fear it's going to be misused, and it's going to be really interesting to see. And which is why I love it when we all come together and we talk about the best sides of VR. Education versus exploitation. Virtual reality is going to change the face of education. I don't even really need to tell you about that because NAVTECA just gave us an incredible demonstration of what this means. It's going to revolutionize our classrooms, our workplaces, and our businesses as we start to use virtual reality as a new way of presenting information. But particularly businesses, I start to think about how VR is going to be used in marketing and what this means with collection of data. Or we've already seen the ways that advertising has been used to misshape what our notion of the perfect body is. And I imagine create a weight loss company, a diet company, a supplement company, creating an avatar which shows you this is what you look like if you use our product, which shows their perfect image that you can actually never get to in real life. And these types of things also get to one more aspect of the virtual reality community, which is that there is a pretty stunning lack of diversity. And this is a topic that I feel really awkward discussing this, I'm going to admit that, but it also does need to be discussed. And again, I'm not coming up here and saying I know all the answers, but all we want to do is make sure that when we create environments like this, we make sure that everyone is welcome. And that's not saying that we're going to go super politically correct, David, but it does mean that we want everyone to be here. It doesn't matter who you are. You got really pissed off because you were trying to talk to that person and they wouldn't stop playing Candy Crush. We've gotten really good at creating these little neurological tricks to keep people locked into digital experiences because there's a lot of money to be made there. And right now, we only do that on a little flat screen. But pretty soon, we're going to be able to do it in a fully embodied environment. Which means we're going to be able to induce full presence and a psychological state